Hi, and welcome to another Making Sense of It with me, Emma Kenny.
And me, Peter Smith.
And this little beauty, Molly Boo. Molly Boo, if you're listening on iTunes, is a 1-year-old silver chihuahua who's pretty amazing. Was a little bit confused because she's meant to be a short-coated one, but she's actually a mid-coated one. She's a recessive gene, which apparently means she's somewhere in between.
And she's Mexican.
And she's beautiful. I don't know why I'm doing that voice. Maybe that's the voice that I think that she should be.
Well, we were doing voices the other day for the dogs, and I just realised they're actually Mexican dogs, aren't they? So it'd be like...
See, I don't really know Mexican accents apart from I remember there was that little... Yeah. Speedy Gonzales when I was a kid, I was going to say.
Speedy Gonzales, gringo. Is that racist?
I don't know.
No, it's not.
But I didn't say it, so if it's offended anybody, then I think you need to put letters on a postcard to Peter Smith.
No, it's at westerns and stuff in it. I think gringo means like...
I don't know,
like,
and
us.
We'll have a look if you want.
Oh dear, could I put my foot in my mouth?
Gringo.
Oh, the dog's just fallen off the table and headbutted it.
Go racist.
Deary me, I hope not. Bloody hell. Trump will be on the phone. Hey, do you want to come make my America great again?
It's apparently racist.
Oh dear.
It's a racial slur for white people, so it's all right, my love.
Oh, right, so it's like...
You've been racist towards me.
Yeah, so I'm
basically.
a gringo. Yeah, hey, gringo.
And we don't mind.
Yeah.
We're owning it. We're owning it. It's ours. We're taking it back.
Yeah, we are taking it back.
We'll be changing this making sense of it to gringo sense.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't made any sense whatsoever.
I haven't ever made any sense ever in the world.
Yeah. I'm trying different areas of the kitchen out now with different cameras and different lighting and different things. It's.
I'm not. I just turn up and sit down and have a coffee. Yeah. So this week has been an interesting week. Yeah, last week was an exhausting week. This week has been less of an exhausting week. But when I have a less of an exhausting week, I find it hard to do anything.
Yeah.
Do you not ever find that? Like, I've got like 100 things to do. I feel really motivated and inspired. And I'll be like, yes, I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to do this. But when I have to do my own stuff, so obviously, even though it's not been exhausting in the fact that I've not had to go away, I've still been doing my work for my projects and stuff.
Yeah.
But because I'm not external and don't go outside very much, you just don't feel like you're really doing anything. Even though you know you are doing something, you don't really feel like when I'm writing my columns or I'm recording my hypnosis or I'm seeing a client, it's at my house. So I just feel like I'm not really doing anything. But this is going to be broken up now because of the fact that we are off.
Yes, we are off.
Tonight we are going to Surrey.
Is it Surrey?
Sandown
Park, yeah.
And it's in Esher. It's in Esher, Surrey. It's definitely in Surrey. It's Esher.
Esher?
Surrey.
Right. As in, when you said Esher there, I was thinking the artist? No, obviously not.
Well, it's a bit artistic, what we're doing.
Yeah, it is.
So if you've listened to our podcast before, and you may not have, so I'll give you a quick recap. I do think you will. I don't think you've just blindly stumbled on,
well, I don't know if they have. I mean, I do excuse the first few. The filming wasn't the best, the sound wasn't the best, and we are gradually getting into what I could probably say better territory when it comes to time frames where we can make them and setups and stuff, so it's getting better. But yeah, sorry, I digress.
Anyway, we, in a previous podcast, talked about the fact that we went over to a youth conference and a youth summit in Germany, and when we got there we realised that it wasn't just an ordinary youth summit, it was Amma's youth summit, and Amma is the hugging saint, and we mentioned back then that we were going to be meeting her and getting a hug, so that's where we're going. We're going off tonight to Surrey. It's a bit of a long drive, not going to be setting off till later on, bit of a long drive, but we're taking the kids. I know that I'm breaking the law, and I know that I shouldn't be taking my children out of school in term time.
We say that though, and because they go to a church school, I'm sure there's a thing in the clause of why they can stay off, and I'm almost sure, I'm 100% sure in fact, that it's classed as, it's not a religion, you see, but it's still classed as a spiritual excursion, and it's, So and say someone who's a Muslim and they've got Eid or so they've got to go for a celebration somewhere, whatever. This could be construed as one of them, really. It could be included.
If we'd actually asked the permission of the headmaster.
They've got
diarrhea. But we're actually. Is it acceptable to actually go and see a hugging saint when you know that you're lying to somebody? I don't know, but I like balance. So maybe that is how balanced we are. We are lying to go and get our spiritual freedom. But it's kind of exciting.
Well, it is. I think it's something to do with shaping, it's just something that we can tell our grandkids, they can tell their kids. It's so, it's not every day that you go and visit somebody that's meant to be like, I don't know, a living saint. It's interesting.
I am hoping that it's transformative. They say that it's transformative. I have read quite a lot of stuff by psychologists and psychiatrists and people in the mental health field who've actually gone and seen her and felt really, really connected to something greater. I don't know whether that's just because she does so much good work and raises just
inspirational in that sense,
billions of pounds. I don't know whether it's that or whether it is just that maybe she is connected to some kind of energy that is more pure than mine. But I am interested. Maybe I feel nothing. I don't know.
Yeah. But as I say, it's the experience that you get when you go there. You see, the volunteers come from around the world, like we've mentioned before on the other podcasts, and it's like I was trying to explain to our two boys who come with us, because we checked about it. The first thing you think is it like a cult? Is it like a religion? And it's not.
It is like a religion.
It's like a religion, but it's not.
It is a religion.
Is it a religion?
Of course, it's a religion.
Is it more based on like Hinduism or?
Well, Hinduism is a massive religion.
Yeah, is it based on that then? Or
it's got elements of Hinduism. So they believe in certain things that I don't believe in. Yeah. So they believe that whatever your life is what you deserve. So you pay the price of your past in your current life. Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe my best friend who died of really horrific cancer in absolute agony. I don't believe that she deserved to die because of a past life. I don't believe the woman who's being raped and beaten by her domestically abusive partner deserved that life, because that's equal to saying the person who beat her and abused her was in a situation where the power that they determined was something they deserved from a past life. Yeah. So that's where I get confused. But everybody has issues within their particular religious doctrine. That's why I don't follow a religious doctrine. And more, I think I've always catapulted myself when I talk about religion into Christian faith. So I always think, when I look back at where I went to church, when we used to have the boys when they were little, I would go to the local church, which was Christian. Mm. And it was Baptist Christian, but it's very much the, I would say, Western white baptism, as opposed to the more kind of, fun churches that are much more mixed have a lot of African influence where you kind of get the craziness and the fun. But I've always kind of gravitated myself towards Christian beliefs.
Is that because of the sort of the kindness elements?
No, because it's moderate.
Moderate, yeah.
It's just moderate.
I found that with the Amma followers and the people who are sort of really close to, there's a lot of
millions.
Millions. It's just kindness. It seems to be, like we mentioned before, their thing is just to be kind, and...
Well, yeah, of course, because the whole premise of their belief system is the way that they are in this life affects how they'll be in the next life. So, of course, operate with kindness.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, just to get a bit of a... obviously, it's nice and kind in my house, and I try and surround myself by kind people, but it's difficult in the world of the rat race, isn't it?
I think just as well, the fact is that as I've grown older and thrown myself from one crisis to another, as we tend to in life, I think I've realised that I don't have any religious beliefs at all. I just have a really strong faith in creation. I don't mean creation as in Adam and Eve. That's a whole crock of crazy. Yeah. But the idea that we are connected to something bigger, brighter, better potentially than just this human experience and form. And we always talk about vegetarianism like we're two really annoying individuals who just have the constant rhetoric of vegetarianism. But nonetheless, part of being a vegetarian for us is I really can accept when meat eaters tell me that apparently their steak is delicious. I fully accept that might be the case. I also accept that meat might be something that if it wasn't connected to death, I might be able to enjoy. So I don't deny the flavour, I don't deny the texture, I don't deny the enjoyment of meat to people who eat meat. What I choose to do is to not have that in my life, because I can't imagine being party and privy to snuffing the life out of a living sentient being. I just cannot connect with it. distresses me. It distressed me when I went to the Dover exports for veal many, many years ago, and I heard those little calves screaming. They screamed in an unholy, terrifying, broken fashion. And you would feel as a mother now and as a child back then, you related to that. Because a mother has heard her child scream in pain, and a child has been a child who's screamed in pain. And the one lesson I took from those exports was that veal, that calf, he was screaming in fear and pain, and it stayed with me my entire life.
That's, you know, it is the world is changing with the way that people eat. I don't know whether do you think I think there's more people sort of turning to vegetarians and realising, you know,
more than
it's
ever.
Just more prominent as well because, yeah, in fact, that is true. Yeah, it isn't. I was going to say, is it just because social media is there? And
No, it's
there?
definitely,
it is actually, definitely, isn't it?
It's about 8% of the British population are now
I'll tell you
vegetarian.
what, the Linda McCartney burgers, the mozzarella burgers and the quarter pounders, I swear to God, anybody, just, you know, myself and Emma can literally give it to anybody who's a meat eater, and I guarantee they will just be like, this is amazing. It is I mean, I can't believe that there's nowhere that sells them. That's our backup plan. Our life goes wrong. I've just told you now.
Stay tuned, kids.
Yeah. We're going to open a burger joint.
It's our new venture.
You know, and I can't wait till the Beyond Meat stuff comes.
I know.
So a big shout out to them. I always chat to them on Twitter. I mean, I can't wait till they get over here. But Beyond Meat is just
with the Impossible Burger.
And the Impossible Burger, yeah, and sausages, and it just looks like it's.
We're going to the
people
vegan.
Are like, oh, why don't you just eat meat? If you want it to look like meat.
We're going to the vegan festival next week. We're going on a Sunday to Manchester Victoria Baths, and they've got a full day devoted to vegan food, and it's just we can eat anything there, and that is such a thing, like donuts, and we can eat like bratwurst, but like the meat-free version.
They're delicious.
But I don't think this has to become a thing about vegetarianism. Let's just take a step back because people are going to be so bored of us.
People are probably wondering why we've got
an
animal on the table.
I'm not talking about that though. I'm talking about the fact that Amma and the link that I have to that goodness is kind of like preservation of life. And I think that the preservation of life, they're all vegetarian and vegan. That's really impressive. You know, people who follow Amma are all vegetarian and vegan because of that connection to life. So I think that I have grown to a position in my life where I'm seeking something different. Like, I was listening to Russell this morning, and when I listen to Russell, you kind of see him as an actor and a comedian, but his being isn't really meant to be about that. I mean, that's how he funds his lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely.
But he isn't that. You know, one of the things that I have deep respect for, and I think that Russell is a bit like Marmite for people in the world. Yeah. I think you either are a devotee of his beliefs, like I am, or you're somebody who gets annoyed with him because they look at his wealth and think, how on earth can you try for even a minute?
Yeah, that's always the argument, isn't it? That's not an argument. That's always the statement that you get from people that don't necessarily like what Russell's all about, and it's just, how can you say that when you live in your massive house and do this and that, you know? And it's like, I don't think, you see, the media really does put a mask and a front on things, doesn't it? You know, and like you're saying, he could just be sat there with working his backside off, because he does, and doing all this stuff and making all this money and doing it and using it for what people expect celebrities to be using it for, out there doing stuff, buying things, doing this, you know. Fair enough, he's a hard worker, he's been through the mill, you know, and he has, so nobody can deny that. And he's worked his way up, and he's done what he can do, and he's using his status, his profile. Like he talked about Kanye West earlier, didn't he, when you were watching that? And he's saying it's good to see other celebrities out there trying to look at the way they're conformed to society and the way things are done, you know, and he's using his platform to explore life, isn't he, really? And you know, it's I think that's what you're getting at, isn't it? It's sort of more of a, you know, he's not going down the road of typical celebritism.
It's kind of the dichotomy, isn't it? You can't make a difference and be a voice unless you're famous. So it's almost like it's counterproductive, the argument, isn't it? Like you said, it's a case of he's up there trying to do as much good as possible, but to do that, people have to follow him. So he has to be famous. So like you said, you can't win. He's doing all that good, but requires all that money so that he consistently is in the press, so that he can do all that good. But it doesn't deny the fact that he's doing it. But when you kind of look at some of the messages that he's constantly trying to put out there, it's his own search for being and meaning. It's like he's doing a religious degree at the moment, looking at all different theologies and doctrines. And that to me, I think, is in a different way personally where I think I'm going at the moment. I was just doing some work this morning. I was writing my Closer column, and obviously like I have like a real affinity to Closer magazine because they kind of took me on a long time ago when I really wasn't very well known, but they just kind of connected with a much younger version of me and felt that I was somebody who they could grow with, and they've cradled me. They've really cradled me, Closer magazine, and I have a real joy of being very good friends with Lisa Burrow, who's one of the editors, and is somebody who I kind of really regret doesn't live near me. It's like Siobhan Freeguards, who's Net Mums and now Channel Mum. Again, I regret that I don't live near them. These are women that inspire
There's
me.
another lady as well, isn't there? Di.
Oh, Di Carter's one of my best mates. Di Carter, I do get to see quite a lot.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Di from CI Channel, for any of you CI fans who listen because of that, Di and me are like bloody sisters. She doesn't really figure in the same way because I chat to her every week, whereas the other women I don't get as much because they're so busy.
I know they are. So
and
busy,
it's always about trying to catch time. But yeah, I'd love to be surrounded by those women. And I think that one of the things that was checking in with myself this morning, I was just writing a thing basically about some research that's been done, and it said that 84% of the population blame basically the society around them and the boredom that they feel with their life for not making any changes. And I was reading it, and throughout I was just kind of writing that stuff about, you know what, the biggest killer of life and dream is apathy. It's a sense of apathy. It's like always knowing that you could but not ever reaching and doing. And I was sitting there, I was just thinking to myself, you know what, as I was writing it, and I was kind of writing about the fact that those quotes, be the change that you want to be in the world and that you want to see in the world, and also kind of that spiritual place that I think I'm going to, there's that voice in the back of my head and it constantly says the same thing to me. It constantly says, you're not going to be doing this, you're going to be doing something else, you're not going to be doing this, you're going to be doing something else. And it's not that I'm not happy in my life, and it's not that I don't constantly motivate myself to do whatever I can. And I know what my big picture is. My big picture is I need to raise a certain amount of money to do what I want to do. I can't have my healing centres without having that money, and it's a chicken and egg. You push yourself into the corporate world to make money so that you can then alleviate that internal agony of not being where you know you're meant to be, so that you can then do what you're going to do. And somewhere on the way there is that vision of self-sacrifice that you have to go through, and I suppose the shedding of what you would ideally have liked to get where you need to go. But you also have to consistently reference yourself back to that anchor of what is it that I know my life's meant to be about. And it's a little bit like the other day when that client came, and I have those periods of time where I go from being on TV, which I'm really thankful for. I don't ever have a bad time in TV. And I'll be honest with you, as much as it can be quite an insidious place to work, I've just been really lucky because my experiences have been really nice. Maybe it is because I don't take it too seriously.
You're a nice person.
But I don't know whether it's because I don't take it too seriously or whatever. It does pay my wages and it does pay my bills, as does corporate world and things like that. So I'm kind of going on that journey, and I know that I need that, and that pays my bills, and I'm very thankful. But then I'll go and connect with my therapeutic work, and I walk out feeling revigorated and really inspired, and I'm just reminded there, going back to my initial point, that I have something that connects more with, I suppose, the soulful spiritual of being than I do with the corporate success of being. And I play those roles where I need to be in both domains, one where I find intense comfort, one where I find quite painful. But to some degree, it's being in the quite painful that then promotes my enjoyment of the most soulful. So to some degree, both has purpose. But bringing it back to the spirituality side, I've realised that I don't necessarily have any connection with any religion, which is leaving me feeling a little bit unanchored and a little bit lost. And I don't know whether that's because I'm en route to realising that it's all irrelevant and connection with other human beings has to have no dictation of belief, or whether you even need to have a belief. It doesn't really matter. Maybe that's the counterintuitive part of it. I was talking to Di Carter, who's an atheist, and we were kind of having a discussion. And she said, are you religious? And I said, no, I don't follow any religion. I said, but I have great faith. And I said, are you an atheist? Because I picked up that she was. And she said, yeah. And I said, well, you may as well call yourself a Christian then. And she was like, why? And I said, because you're saying that you absolutely know that there is no God, and you don't. And I said, and that's like a Christian saying there absolutely is a God. They don't know. Yeah. One has faith, one has faith. I said, therefore, they're both as equal as each other. You are allowed to say you're agnostic. I do not know. And I think to some degree, I really get annoyed with atheists because they will be so confirmed. It's a bit like when you meet a meat eater and they go, yeah, we're meant to eat meat, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, yeah, of course we are. Yeah, you really know that, don't you? Because you've been here forever and that's exactly what we're meant to do and you really know the fabric of being. You may as well not have the argument. Whereas if you say to me, like my brother does now, who was an atheist, and I argued with him time and time again, I'm an agnostic, I have complete empathy with that. You're an agnostic. You don't know. So you're open. And I think that God, whatever God is, whatever God will be to each individual, Mother Nature through to actual connection with a deity, whatever it is you choose, it's the fact that you just have this sense of possibility. And for some of us, that sense of possibility feels so real that we call it God. For me, when I go to bed at night and I talk to Pam and I talk to the people I've lost the meaning, particularly Pam, and I ask for protection for my boys, I don't expect that there's some force field being sent down where Pam was sat next to me on the bed going, all right, I'm really glad that you still remember me, Emma. And yes, it was a bit shit how I died. And I'm sorry, but it's all right because I've got a door here and you'll walk through it one day and we'll be on the other side and we're brilliant. I don't think that. Yeah. And I don't think God's like going, send the Gabriel down to make sure these two boys are protected forever. Of course not. That's not going to happen. But it makes me feel that I'm being heard. And it makes me feel that if something did happen to one of my boys or I got sick and died, that I feel that they would hear that feeling of protection somehow. They would hear that knowledge that I'd been that way of feeling. And I think that presence in bringing it into my life. So I just feel like at the moment a bit unanchored and I feel untethered. And I'm like, what does this mean? And I've sat there and I was thinking again today, I think I've mentioned it to you before. I think I need to kind of start some groups of like-minded people. I don't just mean online. I'm talking about like physically. I think I really crave the physical, like some kind of sitting and being. I suppose the closest you'd say is like the Quakers, who don't necessarily believe in a God at all, but they kind of just come on there together and they call them friends. And it's that sense of like maybe all of us humans who are struggling with feeling untethered but still seeking something greater, maybe we need to tether to each other and figure it out that way. I don't know. It's just where I am.
I get that. Obviously some people are going to be listening going, oh, she wants to start a cult. But it's just, but I get it. Yeah, there's something, times are changing, there's big shifts in a lot of things, from, energy shifts have been happening for a good while now, hence why, people are waking up in certain ways,
I mean, I'm not really aware of energy shifts.
No, I don't mean energy as in like,
I know, but that whole waking up stuff, again, I think humans have been...
I mean like sort of towards like the sort of looking at, there's a lot more people for the planet.
There's a lot less people. There's a lot less, this idea of manufactured Western belief that there are a lot more people who are conscious is ridiculous.
Yeah,
but think about what you just said. I'm not having a go at you. I hear it. I hear it. I see it in The Secret. I hear it in the Celestine Prophecy from years ago. Yeah. I hear it everywhere. This idea of this consciousness, this lack of uniformity all of a sudden, people starting to break the systems, right? We didn't have systems. We became corporate. We became materialistic. We became westernized. We can see colonialism. We can see that. We were very conscious. The Native Americans were incredibly conscious. They had spirituality. They had survival. Yes, they ate meat.
So it's like instead of waking up, it's like
it's about going. Oh, wait a minute. People were a bit happier back then, weren't they?
Yeah.
Maybe we need to just think about why. Yeah, and actually, one of the things you can see now, if you go to Cambodia, for example, now we're not talking about Cambodia in the villages that are more, we would say, dealt with from the Western world. So there are areas of Cambodia that are more modern. I'm talking about in the kind of far out areas, women their fathers, I should say, create love huts for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The girl goes out and is like, you in my love hut. Has sex with them, goes, maybe. No, you go off and I'm going to choose. And she goes through as many as she wants until she picks her suitor.
No way.
They live with the land. Their view and perception of life is so distorted compared to
I'm married to you, and like I've never ever like it's just crazy. It's like I'm still blown away by these things that I've never talked about this before. You know, like this is, you know, little knowledge bits that you have inside you, like this encyclopedia of.
No, just that
stuff.
Feminism interests me across the world.
Yeah, I just think
so.
and you know, I think.
Do you know there's a place actually where women, and it's particularly in certain areas of Africa, and it's also represented elsewhere, where women who are pregnant work in the fields until they basically give birth. They go back to their place, their hut, they give birth, then the father gets in bed and spends 2 weeks wailing and looking after the baby and being like all dealt with in that way while she goes back to the fields.
Wow, that's like
hardcore.
It's like a reversal of roles in a Western world, isn't it? It's like
I suppose part of it is to do,
you know,
right, okay, I've done it for 9 months, I'm going to go back out now and carry on working because I'm a hardcore bitch. By the way, you can spend the next few weeks in bed with the newborn.
Yeah.
So obviously the way that culture and characteristics are formed dictated by the schemas that we live in. And there's no perfect schema. Like, I totally do get what you mean when you're saying about people changing, but if anything, the way that our whole Western civilization is dealt and built is all about us all doing what we're told.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So I just think that feeling untethered and unanchored is like really, really connecting for me at the moment. And I don't know what it's about, really. I really don't. I think I started this whole podcast series with the feeling of an existential crisis, and I think I'm definitely going through it. Yeah. And one of the things that is really significant for me at the moment is I don't watch myself on TV very often. It might surprise people that a lot of people who work in TV, we don't even see it in that way. But occasionally it'll be put online and it'll be tweeted, and sometimes you do that with the stuff.
I like to, well, it's just the relevance, isn't it? You try and keep up a profile because, as you say, you need to do it to earn money, to pay the bills, to then you can figure out where you want to go.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, more and more, because I'm exposed to those little bits, everything's in HD. Like, HD's the devil. HD TV is the devil. Anybody over the age of 24 is basically exposing themselves to just the minuscule detail of your body.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know what? I mean, the HD 4K, Super HD 4K, it can almost, if you've got a pore on your face, you can almost see a blackhead forming 3 miles down in it. You know, it's that clear. You know, it is super duper clear.
So because of that, I have been fighting an internal battle because I have quite an expressionful face. I have like a very expressionful face, and if you're watching this here, it won't be as bad because even though it's a 5D camera, it's a decent camera and it looks quite nice on the filter. Even though it isn't filtered, it's kind of got its own filter. So even though I look a bit rough on this, I can handle it if I see bits of it. But when I do things like this morning, it's like this morning I've gone like super on crack kind of cameras, you know, like what would a camera be like if it could basically see your internal organs? There it is, right there. And I have got a dodgy face. My husband loves me and I appreciate that, right? But I have got the dodgiest face. Like when you look at me in detail.
I'll say way past this dodginess that you're talking about.
And that's fine, but it's there. So part of the stuff about watching myself on television occasionally when it comes up is just that I hate looking at myself at all anyway because I have such a dodgy face. Like my nose has been broken so many times and they've tried to kind of stop it breaking anymore, and because it's so weak and interesting life, hence why my nose has been broken that many times. And that's not including when they've re-broke it to try to get it back to looking normal. Yeah. And it's never worked. It just looks like
it's like an ongoing theme.
It's just like somebody's put it on a bit wrong and a bit up. But nonetheless.
I've had mine broken once.
Pardon?
I've had mine broken once.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had mine broken several times, but the point is it's a surgery to try to fix it from collapsing because of that.
Yeah.
That's been an issue. So honestly, if I catch sight of myself, I'm like, oh my God. But the other thing is, in TV, a lot of people have got completely frozen faces and filled faces. So like they have filler in the cheeks and they have like a lot of Botox. And I am really expressionful. So I do this a lot and I've got loads of lines there. And I'm in that moment right now where I'm saying to myself, it's really hard to not just go, right, what can I have done? I know I had the most expensive and I know I had the most expensive and most painful facial, but that was natural, right? But it's like, I'm in that point where I'm going, oh, you know, you have to get to a point where you're like, it's just going to happen, right? Yeah. I'm just going to go, oh, it's happening. And, you know, I was in a cab the other day with a 25-year-old and he was chatting to me and he went, you're how old? And I said, I'm 45. And he went, oh my God, I thought you were like 32.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I don't look like I'm in my 20s anymore. How ridiculous.
How
ridiculous.
30 is a good age.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I wish I looked like I did in my 30s. Yeah. But it was that kind of recognition of what you kind of always trying to achieve is something that's so far back. And it's almost associated with so many other things that didn't work that you kind of have to be grateful for now. And again, I think that when I talk about that existential crisis, and for any of your listeners who've been with us since day one, you'll feel like you've been through it with me. Yeah. And actually, when I talk about it, like on Twitter and stuff, people are really quick to go, you know, God, this is exactly what I'm having. But I think it does come down to that growing, gnawing feeling that I need to do something quite drastic to start that journey of real acceptance. And I think that possibly it's to do with that connection with other people who don't have a religion but just have a sense of being connected to something, and I want to do that.
Yeah, it's like, you mean as in like sort of like you said, like a centre or a group or a...
Well, I want my healing centres. That's why I've done everything to get where I am.
Fantastic, you know, Emma Kenny's healing centres.
I don't want Emma Kenny at the front of it. I'm not a bloody megalomaniac, but just I want it to be a place of healing. But no, until I can do that, I just think, you know, I'm not bothered about money. I don't charge people and things like that. I just want to kind of get people to
see, this is the common mistake that people make.
No, don't. Let's not go into it. You don't need to make me out to be a great person. You always
want
to defend me, and it's fine. Lots of people are out there.
I get very defensive, me. We've talked about it before. I get very defensive.
Yeah.
You know, and then you put me in the right place and the right frame of mind. It's just like,
sometimes.
Honestly, it's brilliant being married to her. It's just like, you just sort of like, you know, I've stopped, you know, I don't lie anymore because I can't, because it's impossible. You know, she knows I'm going to say something before I've even said it.
You still exaggerate.
You know, yeah, but that's me. I can exaggerate, you know.
Yeah.
It's
whenever Pete tells you something, you just turn the volume down about eight of the variables, just like right low, and then you kind of weigh it was what it was.
That's why me and her dad get on really well.
Yeah, my dad's feeling a lot better now. For anybody who's kind of interested, oh, yawning, apologies. My dad's no, I'm not tired actually. My dad
am I boring you?
yeah, massively actually, Peter. But my dad's doing really well now. He's like nearly back to normal, I'd say. So not only getting over sepsis and renal failure, but actually the delirium's nearly cleared. And whilst he's still a little bit edgy, and we're getting the most amazing treatment by an NHS doctor who's just incredible, called Professor Richard Hindley. Incredible man. It's just bedside manner of a saint, and can't wait to meet him personally, because literally saving my dad's situation so much. In fact, to some degree, helping him just with a better life, and also
he is going to have a better
he's not
life.
going to get a problem with his kidneys like he did again because of this man. It's like amazing.
Yeah.
Kindness is out there, you know.
The kindness is out there
everywhere.
It's, you know, there's and it's that's the thing with kindness. Sometimes you come across people whether online or real life, and you sort of, you know, need to sort of go, I'm not going to go into that zone of
negativity. Yeah, I put a thing out on Twitter last night that basically said, you know, when you have the power to literally ruin someone.
Yes, you did.
And even though you know you've got that power, you refrain from doing it. And like some people who follow me were just like, let it be. And some people were like, that person actually who it was about definitely came on and tried to troll me. And I'm just like, whatever. My followers defended me because that's what my followers do, because we're not like followers and fans and all of that. It's like, they're like my little world of cyber world family. But I'm in that position now where I'm like, what's next? What do I do? What do I do? I don't know.
Well, you keep coming home, don't you, with, I nearly bought a pot-bellied pig today, or I need, you know, and it's sort of, I mean, Emma's really cute because she likes to watch the videos of dogs that,
for anybody out there who has mental health issues like anxiety or depression, I have resolved that a lot of my mental health can be managed with dog rescue. If you are a particular advocate of such things, Pause for Homes and Hope for Paws, these are all...
Yeah, Hope for Paws.
Yeah, Hope for Paws, Pause for Homes. There are lots of different ones that you can go on.
Oh my God, we watched... Emma
amazing.
She showed me a thing the other day of... where was it? Was it in Scotland somewhere? Just one of the homes, and there was just... Oh God, it must have been...
Oh, it was in Wales.
Wales. Dog after dog after dog. You see, we had a conversation. I was never a dog man. You know, when you say yourself you're a dog person or a cat person or a budgie person or whatever, you know.
No one's a budgie person.
You were a budgie person.
I was a budgie rejecter.
You were still a budgie person.
I gave it my gran.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you have a cuttlefish?
I had a cuttlefish.
Yeah.
Grandma loved Peter.
What is a cuttlefish?
It's like it's a fish that's like dried and hard, like a cuttlefish, like a shelly kind of fish.
That's terrible.
Do you like
I
the
thought
beaks
it was
on
just,
it?
I thought it was just...
I don't know what it...
Is it?
I don't know what it is.
Of a...
It did look fish-shaped, kind of like
Yeah,
white and hard, dry. It's like a stone, like a shell.
Isn't it?
I don't know.
Budgies are mental.
Boring.
Yeah.
Some of them can talk.
Oh yeah, but you get that. You're under the notion that like you're going to get a budgie and you're going to teach it how to talk.
My grandma used to go, Joey, not Peter, obviously. Wasn't like Peter with an identity crisis. I'm not Peter, I'm Joey. Joey.
That's a whole new world.
Why do they call me Peter?
Yeah.
And she called it Joey, and then Bluey. Next one, Bluey.
How do they know it was male?
Bluey. How do they know it's male?
Yeah.
I don't know, Peter. Maybe because the people in the shop realise what a male looks like. They have little balls, don't they?
I don't know.
One would imagine they had balls.
Pick them up and look at the budgie balls.
Well, they have. Surely they have balls. Budgie balls.
Budgie balls. It's got a little ring to that, hasn't it?
Little tiny little balls for a budgie.
Yeah, little budgie balls.
How'd you get those balls out? To be honest, Wookie, our chihuahua, is a little chihuahua, and he's got like a really, really quite a large penis. So I don't know. It could be like that.
I was. You know what? When I was really taken aback by that.
It was shocking.
It was like one minute it's little
Cuttlefish or cuttles are marine animals of the order Cepida. They belong to the class Cephalopoda. No, Cephalopoda.
Cephalopod.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. Why don't you know? And also includes squid, octopuses, and nautiluses. Cuttlefish have a unique internal shell, the cuttlebone. One imagines it's a cuttlebone.
Right. So not only are you keeping budgies, you're murdering fish.
Yeah, another reason not to have it.
Yeah.
Another reason.
We have to give the dogs food, don't we? Which is then, I mean, there is vegan dogs? Vegetarian?
Yeah, I know. There is. You can get vegan stuff. They can't with the cats, though.
Yeah.
Oh, God, Poppy'd live on cornflakes if you gave it her.
Oh, my God, yeah, I know.
I've just looked at budgie balls, but there is actually a product called budgie balls, and it looks like chewing gum.
All right.
I imagine they're not the real budgie balls.
Probably if you put budgie testicles in, if you Google budgie testicles, you'll probably get something a little bit. Watch this, there'll be a product called budgie testicles as well.
Well, budgies can get testicular cancer, so I think we can leave it there.
Oh, bless
yes, they can get testicular cancer.
Any sort of living,
mammal.
Breathing.
It's a bird, isn't it, though? Oh, yes. They have little... There you go. So, there you go.
Budgie testicles.
Poor little things can get budgie testicular cancer. That's terrible.
Oh, my gosh.
But yeah, sorry, we digress. I just had to answer those questions we needed to know. I know all of you would have been listening and what is a cuttlefish? What is it? I've got my Google with me. I need to just like,
budgies have balls.
I know now.
We know exactly what they are now.
Yeah. It's a strange one at the moment. Like I said, I don't think it's ever stopped feeling strange. I just think there's been so many transitions lately. I just think that life has been such a transition. I've still not come to terms with the fact that I might not have any more children, and I'm like in an age group that I know I shouldn't have more children, but I really want them. It's funny, but then I think to myself, maybe that's because as a mother, you just never lose sight of just how wonderful it was when they were little, you know, when they were kind of able to make the world a better place and all of that. But then I think to myself, maybe that nurture and maternal instinct, like Amma at the very beginning we were talking about, that's what she does. She kind of tries to be a mother to everyone, doesn't she? And I think that maybe that's what you need to do. You need to kind of take that feeling and you need to kind of project it elsewhere. And I know we talk about fostering when the kids are older and we'll do all of that and adoption. And I know that will fulfil me to some degree.
Yeah, I know, and that is something that we've been discussing for a long time, and we will eventually have.
Yeah, we were going to do the concurrency scheme adoption, and we were going to get a baby from the concurrency scheme, which is basically where you get adopted from day one, and then within 2 years, usually you end up having the baby permanently with you, which helps with the abandonment and attachment issues of the family that they're with, or if they go back to the original birth family, you basically support them during that process. It's a bit like you're fostering, adopting for a while. And hopefully that means that because you're seeing that birth family regularly, the child doesn't feel too much of a distinction if they transition back to the main family. And we were like, we can do this. And they made out in the initial literature that it was kind of one of those schemes where it was pretty low risk that you'd ever have to give the baby back. That secondly, the parents themselves, you know, you'd have contact, but it'd be arranged. And we started to go through the process, and it was like, one, out of your area because they don't want you being near the birth family, which I totally understand. Secondly, it could be like 5-6 times a week that you needed to go and take the baby there. And then on top of that, they wanted you to kind of really try your best to encourage as much contact. So then it was almost impossible. And then on top of that, they didn't just want to interview people who know you, your employers, people that you've worked with, friends. They wanted to interview ex-partners. Yeah. Like my ex-partner, I don't have an issue with that. He'd have happily interviewed, but Pete just didn't want anything to do with her. Like, it was nasty.
It's
you didn't want that. And you're sitting there and you're like, wow.
I mean, obviously, I get the hoops you've got to jump through and stuff, but the sort of, it would have been where 5 or 6 times a week to go out of the area to take the baby to there and then spend all that time with them there, up to 2 hours, 3 hours. You're not going to have time to either work,
or have time with baby.
With the baby, or your own family to integrate the baby into
I know, it was
like, I know it sounds awful, but it was like it was just you're doing their sort of job to, I don't know, it was...
Well, no, I mean, I think I can understand it.
Well, my mum used to foster and it was nothing like that.
No, I know, but that concurrencies, you get them from day one. Your mum was never keeping the babies.
Well, she did, though.
One of them who was disabled, that's a different kettle of fish. It's hard to place disabled children.
Yeah.
But disability, and on top of that, now the increases in IVF success and donor eggs means that more children need adopting because
I do say,
massive
our 2 boys that we have, I just think they're the best boys in the world, and
I just thought, why not interview my kids? If you want to know about me as a mother and you as a father, just talk to our children because they're really lovely and they're bright and they're fun and they're caring, all of those things. Yeah. So why not talk to them?
Yeah, it's a very, very odd sort of procedure, wasn't it?
Well, no, it's probably the right procedure, but I just felt...
You've got to protect children and stuff.
Yeah, of course, they're the primary.
It was very...
Well, it just was impossible.
Yeah, it was impossible.
So I think that part of me as well has just kind of really needs to be put somewhere. And I guess that's one of the elements that is.
There's a lot of older young people out there, kids.
I know. I want to take a sibling group in the end.
Oh yeah, it's just, it's sad, isn't it? I mean, dogs and kids, and we're just like we're just gonna.
No, I'm a sucker for anything that needs help.
Well, we've got a big garden. So we can eventually.
So I think we should keep kids in the garden. I'm not sure that
Well, that's my
even unruly
that's
teens.
my diamond mine idea down the scuppered and down the pan. Yeah. No, I mean for animals, but yeah, kids. I think that's our future, isn't it?
I don't know what my future is. I think I don't know. I
don't
even want to try to think about it.
On a commune selling seashells.
I'm not sure. Selling I'm not sure that will make us a decent living, but it's fine. Obviously, I'm going to win the Euro Millions. That's definitely what's happening. Definitely what's happening.
The queue on that one.
I do think that just our age demographic is one of those demographics that just genuinely does have to think... I know it sounds daft. Maybe it's because my dad got so ill recently. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what's happened. The fact that Pam died last year and I unequivocally and unapologetically miss her every single day. Yeah. And that my mum and dad have always been like really important to me. Don't get me wrong. I mean, my mum and dad, I don't need them for anything other than their presence. I don't rely on them for anything in particular. In fact, they rely on me. But I like that. I like them relying on me. I like them ringing me and asking me to sort the doctor's appointments and asking me to figure things out. And then when you kind of sit there and it's coming up to Christmas, and I was talking to somebody the other day who's had 2 significant losses this year, and they were like, oh, my Christmas table is going to feel so strange. Every year, like I do a bit last Christmas, I burst into tears on Christmas morning. That was what happened. And I just couldn't quite believe that it was going to be my first Christmas without her, and it's going to be my second Christmas without her. And I know it's just normal, and it's life's a journey of loss, and that's it. It's a journey of loss undertaken to do it joyfully. I say that all the time. And me and you were talking the other day, and I was saying, I just don't have any fear of death at all. Yeah. Like, I just don't see death as scary in the slightest. And when I work with people with health anxiety, particularly based around fear of death, because obviously health anxiety is about wanting to be healthy so you don't die, one of those areas where I just have this kind of desire to soothe them, because it's like, it's cool. It's like, it's what we do. It's like death. It's what's meant to happen. It's as important as life.
I think throughout growing up and, getting on with things, I think I've been scared. I was scared of death, I think. Because I never really thought about it, but I guess, I think since the accident and things like that, the big sort of impact on me, those sort of situations throughout your life. Yeah, I think I was a little bit scared, but since I've been with you, so like the past 6-7 years, it's...
You don't care, you're like, I welcome death.
I'm
waking up every day with her. I just pray for it to end.
No,
I'm awake again.
It's... I guess there'll probably be a lot of people asking stuff like that, like, what's it like to live with Emma Kenny? Because, you're always helping people, and,
I don't think anybody gives a shit.
No, but, because people have asked, and
it's like this. It's like we sit with puppies.
But it's just that you have
sort
of unlocked a lot of... I haven't been therapized to a point where I'm like fucking just null, you know what I mean? But I think I'm not scared of death anymore because of the conversations we've had and the way that you've discussed it. I'm
scared of anything happening to my children because
I'm
scared of the agony of living without them. But when it comes down to those feelings of wanting to live for a long time, it's like, obviously it's really nice, the idea of getting to 90 and having a big grandchildren family and maybe a great grandchild, and that's a really great feeling. But literally the moment that I feel incapacitated or I've had enough, I'm just gonna dignitas myself.
I'm coming with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
massive
not
party,
an issue.
Yeah,
just gonna get myself on that boat, get myself over there, pop it in my
because
arm.
the experiences are not going to be experiences anymore. It's going to be a struggle for you to, you're not going to be able to do the thing. I don't know, life's fleeting in it, but life's also just a big bucket of experiences.
Yeah, I don't want to get to a point where I just can't enjoy day-to-day life. And so as soon as that starts to diminish, I'm going to see myself off, definitely. Yeah. But in a way that is really open and celebrated. And I think that that's about making peace with death. Like me and death, a bit like me and anxiety, Me and anxiety, she's always there, but I've got used to her. Now I kind of use her for my advantage and motivate myself and remind myself to do things that calm me down. And she's always going to be there, but I'm cool with it. Death's a bit the same. I kind of hold the hand of death. I'm like, I'm not afraid of it. It's always with me. Every single second, it's a second further that's pushing me towards it. And it's all completely okay. And it's the most natural thing ever. And every time I lose someone, whether it's Pam, whether it's my parents, whether it's my dogs or my cats, you're just reminded of, like you said, the fleeting experience and the fact that we were all sat outside, weren't we, with the kids the other day, and I was just like, it's weird thinking somebody will live in this house that isn't us one day. Yeah. And there'll be families
reminds me, actually, I'm going to do the age-old thing of, we have a lot of trees in our back garden, and because you don't have to do it now, with a penknife, because someone might be looking, I'm going to get a chisel and I'm going to put our names just in the top of one of the trees of
just remembering our moments here.
Then, it'll be there for another 200, 300 years.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it, that? Because our trees are protected in the back garden, so we can't cut them down, which we wouldn't want to cut them down. And you can't help but just think one day we will just be those names engraved in the trees will have gone and will have been passed, all of us. And
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
Well, that's because you were a massive romantic when you were younger and you just dreamt of a time that you'd be able to put somebody's names into a tree that was your girlfriend.
With a heart and an arrow through it.
And then, like, a bit later on, just like with a swear word underneath when it broke down, and a broken heart and a sad face.
Or maybe it's a tattoo on the arm with a massive name.
Yeah, Pete had his ex-wife's name. Obviously, not after they got divorced. That would be entirely strange.
It was massive.
Yeah, he had her name right across it.
And it was there. It's been lasered off. And I'll tell you what, getting a laser tattoo, it's like someone cooking your arm. And
that's what my facial was like.
Yeah.
Literally. Oh my God, yeah. It was like, honestly.
The smell of burning flesh. That actually hurts more than getting a tattoo. Because you know what's happening, you're sort of like, you're not getting something...
There's no benefit.
Yeah. But yeah, I have an old school breakdancing ghetto blaster now, which is...
I used to have that ghetto blaster. Mark Plumford, you've met Mark, he was at Pam's funeral. He was one of my good mates at school. Well, Pam and him were boyfriend and girlfriend for a long time. He's a pilot now. He's very, very, very educated.
Biggles, what?
No, he's just lovely. I adore Mark.
Spitfire.
He's amazing. So he's in the RAF and now he's a big commercial and he lives in Hong Kong. But he came over as he is very, very loyal and he came over. But there was a time when I had a mini Metro. It was the Metro Miami. The Metro Miami didn't do very well. I got it and 6 weeks later the engine blew up. But fortunately I knew somebody who was a mechanic. And so he put an ex-police car engine in my car. And it cost me 150 quid, which is an amazing bargain. And so begins my journey on my Metro Miami.
You put an ex-police engine in your car.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
It was great.
Should have put like massive wheels on it and stuff, you know.
Well, yeah, it was a Metro in Miami, let's not go too far. So I had this Metro in Miami and I didn't have a sound system. It was as simple as that. It was like one of the standard ones, you know, he didn't even have a tape or anything. So Mark gave me his Ghetto Blaster and I swear to you now, it took up half of the back seat. Yeah. And I would drive around using that as my...
Did it only have one tape player on it?
No, it was massive.
Oh, no, because they're the best ones.
It had two, and it had a CD. Because CDs have been around a long time. You're talking about when I was in my 20s, CDs were there, and it was his. So he gave it me, and I would play my stuff in there. And nobody ever tried to steal it, because you'd have needed 3 of you to actually carry it away.
How many batteries did you go through? My gosh.
I did actually go through quite a lot of batteries.
It was like 8 of the big ones, and then like you
it
never
was
used to
the
fast
big
forward
ones.
or you never used to fast forward or rewind.
It didn't go horrendously through it though. I'll be
bad if
honest with you.
Yeah, if you just played it.
Didn't have a lot of money back then, and it accompanied me to Swansea when I lived in Swansea. It was there, my Metro in Miami. That was the same Miami that I was driving when I had been to an animal rights party, and anybody who lived in the 90s and 2000s with animal rights interests will know that you have some pretty mad parties. And I had gone to this abandoned farmhouse. That's a lie. I've made it abandoned in my house. It was just messy, Emma. They still lived there. I went to this place where people had got this really, really West Wales mental farmhouse, really done in, like wild. And it was just packed, absolutely packed. I'd kind of gone to a meeting in Swansea, Mumbles, and I had like a group meeting with these people I didn't really know, and they were like, "Oh, what are you doing now?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing," because I didn't have any friends because I'd only moved there recently. They were like, "You want to come to a party?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll definitely go to a party." So I got them all in my car, the ones that I could take. Got there, felt wholly out of place, but it was mental. And halfway through, I don't really remember, but there was somebody like painting people with different bits and bobs, and didn't really take any notice. I set off about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't drink, so off I go. I'm in my Metro, and police are behind me. And I don't know why, but I get the fear me.
Yeah, no.
When I was younger, I get the fear if I saw the police. And I was like properly having the fear. And I was even pretending like my music was on and it wasn't on. But I was trying to look really normal. And I was thinking, what do you do at 2 o'clock in the morning kind of thing? It's like, yeah, I'm just going to sing along. Anyway, they pulled me over and I was thinking, oh, I didn't have to, I've done nothing wrong, you know. Anyway, back light was out apparently. And told me that I needed to do it, and he said to me, "Are you all right?" And he said, "It's quite late." And I just lied. I just went, "Oh, I've been working a late shift. I work at Childline." I did work at Childline, but I was like, working a late shift. And he was like, "Oh, all right, okay." And he looked at me and he was like, "Get that fixed." And I was like, "All right, I will."
You give you a producer. Police officer, don't give me a producer.
No, he didn't. No? He didn't give me a producer. I mean, I had a producer once, and that was when I had a bit of a crash. And, somebody crashed into me. And I drove home and I got back to the place that I was staying and I walked in and I looked in the mirror and on my head was an enormous circle of orange paint that must have glowed in the dark, and I'd completely forgotten that at some point some guy had painted this big circle. So he must have looked at me.
He might have thought you had a ringworm.
He must have looked at me and thought, "Man, you are such a blagger." Do you know? But I was like too embarrassed to go. I've just been to a mental party with a group of animal rights vegans.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember getting pulled over. I mean, I remember once I was waiting the first person in the sort of area to get a set of like the Technics 1210s. You know, so what I'd do is for anybody who has a Technics 1210 is a record player that sort of DJs use, so the professional, like you see all the guys scratching with them and stuff, but they are heavy. You can actually stand on them and it'll turn around, they're heavy. Like, so I used to take them, 4 CDs and stuff, I used to take them to like people's houses for the parties, and obviously they'd end up getting left there because there was no way after the party I was going to be stumbling around with them. Because I used to have to put one on top of each other, then with a mix on top of that, and then carry...
Pete didn't drive for a very long time.
Yeah, carry records. And also, I was drinking and whatever, so I wasn't going to drive anyway. But I remember one night we'd been around the girls' house where they'd been kept there. We all used to chill around there, loads of us, I was only young, and I was just like, I need to take them home. I want to, because I want to play with them when I get them set up in my bedroom at the time, And it was something like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and she lived like 2 miles from my house.
Oh.
So I said, I'll get my records. I'd already taken my records, so my records are at home. And and the mixer. So I literally got these 2 decks, and I was in a bit of, not in a total worse for wear state, but I was a little bit sort of, so, and I just stumbled out like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning with these 2 decks, wires everywhere, you know. And I remember like just must have been about 5 minutes from home, you know.
I'd have been found in a bush shelter.
I looked like, you know, like proper sort of like hip hoppy wear, you know, sort of baggy jeans, like pin rolls and like trainers and stuff, you know. And I was still, I think I might have had dreadlocks or something. But, you know, this police cars drove past and just looked at me, you know, like you know, and I was at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting there with like £1,000 worth of, you know, record players and that, you know, and yeah, they eventually turned around and pulled me over, and they just didn't believe me at all, you know. So I said, just follow me then to my home with me, you know. And that's to follow me down. Just literally they didn't give me a lift, man, you know.
I know, how ridiculous.
You know, yeah. So I walked literally just like, because I was having arrested all the time, so heavy, you know. Yeah, and I got the fear then, I tell you that now. You know? And I just started coming out with stuff. I can't remember what it was, but I do recall coming out with just like random, just like, dry mouth and stuff, you know, like, just been working at my mates, but doing like, you know, and it's just like, you know, and they were looking at me like...
They just make you feel guilty.
Yeah, and because it was such a small town, the guy was called Sergeant Petrick, and his, you know, and it was different, and it was like this...
Sergeant Petrick?
Yeah, you know, and he was proper...
Hardcore.
Everybody knew who he was, you know, and he wasn't a nice person, you know, and he didn't like so many of us, because everybody knew the faces, and everybody knew him, and he knew the faces, everybody, and it was just like, he just didn't believe me. It's like, and I felt like saying, do you really think that I'd be walking at 2:30 in the morning with £1,000 worth of record players on me if I just nicked them?
Well, yeah, he does, because he's a copper, and it happens quite a lot.
Yeah. I'm not that stupid, though. I'd have stashed them and gone back for them, wouldn't I?
It's just bizarre.
Unless they caught me actually been going back from... No, anyway, I'd have waited till the daytime. But,
it's so weird how...
the feeling when you get when you're young, you just make stuff up.
Yeah, I just, honestly, embarrassing.
Also,
even now, if I see a police officer, I just feel immediately like I want to just admit guilt for things I haven't done.
I know.
Like, if I was questioned about a murder, I'd just be like, did I do it?
I
don't know whether I've done it now, because you're making me feel like a woman. I was there, and they'd go, where were you last night? I don't know. I've not known where I was last Wednesday ever. It's like, I don't know. It's bizarre. Like, what were you doing on the evening of the 22nd of June?
Yeah. You'd be like, well, let me get my diary out. Because then he'd look at your diary, there's nothing
There's
in
nothing there. I think I was
Probably
probably just sat at home.
Yeah.
There may have been wine involved, you know.
Or gin.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice gin with fever tree.
Wait a minute. Were you drinking heavily then?
No,
Oh, no.
yeah.
But heavily enough that you don't remember. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I did it.
And when you say you were sat at home, you mean at the murder scene?
Yeah.
What?
Did you have access to any weapons? Well, I had some knives. You had knives. You were carrying knives. I wasn't carrying a knife.
You were in the kitchen drawer.
You had a whole
smoking drawer
of knives.
It's like a clue from bloody 3, 2, 1 that we've been
I know.
over. Oh gosh, yeah, 3 to 1.
I know, he never did it, did he, Fred Rogers?
Fred Rogers.
Ted Rogers.
Fred Rogers. Ted Rogers' brother does the weather.
Shut up. And on that note, we will leave it for another week of making sense of it, of which we have once again confirmed the fact that we never make very much sense at all. Yeah. Apologies for our ramblings, but this is our reality.
Leave us a comment, give us a subscribe, give us a share, whatever.
And definitely come back next week when we know whether we've been transformed by Amma's hugs. I am a bit worried because we did do a podcast about her and it was really nice, but we did kind of jokingly refer to it potentially as a bit of a nice cult, and cult really isn't the best thing to associate anybody like that with. So apologies to any of our listeners that apparently have been listening. We didn't really mean
no.
a cult.
It
was kind of a, what do you call a mass amount of people who follow somebody that's doing something to do with beliefs? A church, I suppose.
Nice, yeah.
But the point is, she has a congregation, and we just jokingly said that. But now I'm offended that I did that because of the fact that they've been listening, and they were like, "Oh, we really like your podcast." I'm like, "Oh."
No, but I recall the podcast we did. It was absolutely fine. It was when you get there, you're sort of quite sceptical, aren't you? When you start realising that.
No. At the end of it, you're like,
I'm
such a bad human. I need to be more like this woman.
It's human nature to sort of try and find a fault in things, and literally they do not have any faults. I mean, the most wonderful, come from the most wonderful backgrounds. As a young man that we met who was married to a young lady who worked there, and he was like the curator of the
Prague or something.
No,
wasn't
Vienna, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Vienna National Vienna Museum,
art gallery,
and it was just like really cultured out of his head. It's brilliant.
If anybody who's really interested in it, Amma's going to be at Sandown Park in Surrey between Wednesday the 14th is it?
Today.
Wednesday 14th. Today,
She gets there.
Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, and
it's free. Anybody can come along.
You just
need
get
to get a token online.
Free food, free vibes, kindness. And
Meditation.
Meditation. Yeah, group meditation and stuff like that. It'll just give you a bit of, it might not be your thing, but if you're over that way, check it out, and go and hug a saint.
Unfortunately, if you can't check it out, don't worry, because we are doing.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See ya.